Twins coming, no health insurance.
Oh my gosh, that's a big one.
Yeah, so got to figure it out.
I'm sorry, what are you stressed about? Why is that an issue?
Yeah, so we'll see.
How much
Big
does
year.
health insurance cost?
What's that?
How much does health insurance cost?
Probably like for all four of us, about 1,700 a month.
What do we have to do to get 1,700 a month? Like, if we wanted to get 1,700 a month by the end of the week, do you think we could do that?
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I sent out a bunch of proposals this morning, but I haven't heard back yet. Yeah, I know that is possible, but also to keep 1,700, I need to actually win probably like 4 grand or more. Although I am increasing my pricing, so the margins will be better.
I would say, yeah, 4 grand. That's probably pretty true. Is this thing live
What do you mean live?
in the group? Yeah, there we
Okay.
go. Okay. Let's throw the everyone tag on here and then watch them line up. All right. Cool.
VIP attender over here. Whatever.
I should get myself something. I'll be back in just a moment's time.
Okay.
Other than that, Alec, how are you?
I'm good.
Hitting those Austin Christmas parties, New Year's coming up, doing your thing.
I probably not attending very many parties, but
You got other things to do, huh?
Alec,
yeah.
what do you think the biggest holdup is for you, man? I know that you've closed some deals. It seems like things have been trending in a positive direction for you. But where do you feel like you're stuck?
um, I think I have a tendency to live in a process too long instead of delegating it away. Um, so for a while it was backlinks just sucking up time. Now I have this really cool system in place, and now it's content editing is taking me forever. So I've got the skeleton of that, and I want to pass it off. It just bites into the margin because I underpriced some people. So it's not quite you know, bountifulness and plenty yet. But I should be spending more time just make like I should be spending more time on outbound sales, and I'm not because I want to make sure to. I had some like because I didn't have a productized offer, I was doing things that were sucking time, and then even the offers I did have were taking longer than I wanted, and so yeah, just a lot of delays. But
How much of
but
your
was
time
out.
are you spending on how much of your time are you spending on like revenue generating actions versus like working on processes?
Revenue generating actions probably like 45 minutes a day.
Yeah. Do you agree that like if like just in this like weird fantasy world that we're gonna go for a minute, do you think if you spend a lot of time on the revenue generating stuff that you could have more money coming in and then pay somebody to do the process stuff and
Yeah,
you'd be in a better situation?
yeah, totally. Yeah,
What
totally.
has to
But
happen? I mean, for somebody like one of the challenging things I think for a lot of people is having like the sales ability and the people skills. That's something like we can always hire for that too, but it can be hard to hire for that if you don't have money coming in. But going the other way, if you have the ability to sell, then it's like it's a lot easier to take the money that you've brought in and just like pass on a portion of it and spend 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day focused on the revenue generating activities and just be like, hey, you process person, go here it is, go and solve this problem, right?
mm,
Or like, hey, here's the process for backlinking, please like take this, or even white labeling that, right? and just having somebody else do it and spending all your time on this revenue stuff.
Yeah. I just had, especially in this industry and from the last company that kind of pushed me to get into this, I'm like, I have exclamation points on quality. So even people that I've white labeled to before and outsourced to before, I just, I find the quality super low. Like they just don't care. So, so now I'm maybe spending way too much time on these details, but when I do pass off one of the systems, I feel really good about it. I feel super good about the quality and what I'm delivering to customers, and things go well. So I'm happy about that. And I'm almost over the hump too, in terms of like getting the biggest processes off, and then I can just go full-time selling, which is going to be more ideal anyway.
Yeah. Do you have systems in place to help you sell full time?
No.
So is
No.
this like you're hunting and then cultivating the relationship and then eventually closing them?
That's right. And I use Upwork too.
Yeah. Using Caleb's method?
Yeah.
How's that going for you?
It's going pretty well. I'm not as aggressive as he would probably want me to be, but all the people who've signed up with me have grown their contract with me. So, which is cool, but I definitely need to probably charge more and be a little more aggressive on it. But yeah, it's going well. I have another good chunk of people signing up January 1, starting their campaign with me January 1, which should help with the insurance game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's certainly seems like it's well, actually, when's the due date?
April 28th.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be good. It would be good to have like all that in place and a cushion. Isn't there like an insurance deadline? I know we have a former insurance agency owner on the call.
Yeah, 15th.
15th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll need to do it. I have to prioritize it pretty hard. We'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. Do you have any wins aside from this sidebar?
Probably the ones I already said. A customer of mine who has 2 websites is signing up with a third on a larger budget. And then I got a wellness center in Austin who I'm going to be doing SEO for. And hopefully she gives me a discount on pregnancy chiropractic because my wife needs it and they perform that. So yeah, those are my wins.
That's great, man. That's great. That's a step in the right direction.
Not sure if you guys heard, but Alex going to be a father to twins.
We did. We were just talking about it.
I jumped
It's all over the
on
internet.
before that's his big win, man.
I actually saw it on CNN last night.
Shouted from the rooftops.
That's what we're talking about, is like how to solve for getting insurance for everyone.
Obamacare.
I'm gonna
Right.
go cameras off because I'm about to
I
make
have a
a
win. I closed a client last week, and
Huge deal.
huge deal. That was a 1 call close too. That was pretty wild. It was a referral. So that
Yeah,
makes
that's what I was gonna say. To be fair, it was a referral, and
Yeah.
a lot of trust was built before that, right?
There's a lot of trust between. Well, actually, I'd spoken to this person before in the past, but it wasn't in terms of like doing work for them. It was more like just answering questions to try to help them out. And then the person that referred it had a very close relationship with with like the 2 of them were really close, and they set me up really perfectly. So that made it easier. I actually went into the call not knowing that this was going to be a sales call, right? I just like, okay, like I understand this person's going through some tough times. I'm going to give them some advice. Jeff was a part of that. Like, well, he was listening. He was sitting
Yeah.
on the couch back here,
Yep.
just kind of like observing the sales call. Jeff, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts from that sales call?
Well, I mean, it was classic consultative selling, classic digging into the vision, invoking the vision from the prospect, and really getting into the deep dive into what they needed and what they were trying to accomplish, their current challenges, and then just building credibility. It was one of those calls that, when I first started working with Patrick, it was just like, wow, like the way he positions things, the way he builds trust, the way he presents the solution to, to getting them more business and growing their company is, in my opinion, genius. I've said it before, and it's just like I was back there like, tearing up because of the way that he pulled this guy in and just really met him where he was at, led him yeah, that's right, Spencer, reeled him in and, led him into the vision of what we could create with him. And it was, just anytime I'm around Patrick and he's in the zone, he's in his zone of genius, and just those calls are really magical for me because I try to imitate that or mimic it as much as I can in my calls, and I've done pretty well, but I don't even hold a candle to that. It's just like just the insight that Patrick has into people, people's psyches, and um, really tuning into what they need to hear next is just like next level for me. So it was super cool to be able to hear that again. I haven't heard one of his calls. Like sometimes he's done the solid gold pitching on these calls, but rarely, unless I called him in to help me close a deal in the past. I haven't, I'm not around that often. So to hear it again was super cool.
Yeah, I think a part of it shows up that way, and at the root of it, people can sniff bullshit, and I think if you connect with them as humans, then like this is where this is where they feel comfortable being vulnerable. I think when you kind of like get them to a spot where they're comfortable being vulnerable, then we can open up, we can have an honest discussion, and we can see a pathway forward. It's kind of crazy the kind of like mysticism that seems to surround sales, which in my mind is largely unnecessary. If we were to talk like how do we build a friendship? How do we build a relationship here? Like, can we just be open and honest? Jeff, you have just completed an intense personal development program. You went through a program that's almost identical to one that I went through 10 years ago. I think a lot of these skills like go back to that of like you kind of get comfortable being a little more open and vulnerable and just kind of like being with a person in their like where they are. And I think that is this like human relationship building is one of the most important skill sets
Yeah.
or most important parts of a sales call. And it's not installed to be a part of the sales call. It's more of like a byproduct that sales will come of that. That's kind of
Right.
how it feels.
It's the ability to connect and just get out of your own head about like saying the perfect thing or the just right, whatever, and just flowing with the conversation. When I first started in sales with Patrick, I had kind of like a 9-point hit thing with, teeing it up and overcoming objectives, all this stuff. And it doesn't necessarily go in order, but I followed that. It wasn't a script, but it was just kind of a basic framework. And I followed that for a while until it just became natural to me. And I think that's where it's at, is like all of these things need to be addressed. And if you already know that need to be addressed. So if you get into that zone where you can, bring those things up and confront them and realize that, these people aren't expecting you to be perfect. They're not expecting you to give them some perfect line. They're expecting you to be human. And that's where the connection comes in, when you can really just be, like I say, get in that zone. And that's what worked for me. Like I say, I feel like I did it. My sales ability is 10% of what Patrick's is, but I still have done pretty well because I get in the zone, and I'm just, I'm authentic, and I'm connecting with them on a personal level in a way that they don't hear from these other people who are cold calling them and trying to sell them a marketing package or whatever. And it's just another deal to them. It's like, I think the program that Patrick's talking about, it really it focuses a lot on the impact that you're making, how you're affecting the people around you, and what you can do to help lift everybody else up around you. And that's why I started working with Patrick, because he had that sort of program installed already. And yeah, it makes all the difference on a call like that, for sure, because you can definitely feel the energy of somebody when they connect to it, and they start opening up a lot more about what they really want. And that's what closes a deal, in my opinion.
Yeah. So for that call, so we ended up closing that person at $15,000 a month. And it, like, we peeled back the curtains on like what they were doing and their current stuff. And we basically just inherited their marketing budget from someone else that in my opinion wasn't doing a great job. There was a lot of, when they're already spending that amount of money, it's kind of easy just to like, hey, we've built this relationship, we built this connection. Here's a demonstration of our ability to, let me prove to you that we really know what we're talking about. So just like we pulled up their Google My Businesses, they have 16 of them. So they're a big company. And we looked at their website, we looked at their past backlinks. They said they were paying for backlinking. So we opened up Ahrefs and I showed them, I'm like, hey, it looks like there's not very many powerful backlinks that have been added. It looks like they're building a lot of directories. What you need to be doing is they need to be like doing outreach and getting local publishers. And I made sure to compliment them when I saw good things, like, hey, looks like they joined the Chamber of Commerce. This looks like a really, something that would make sense to be a part of. And this is probably worth paying because, hey, this is a local link that's going to be trusted. So, honestly, closing this type of client, in my experience, has been a lot easier than closing someone at $1,000 or $1,500 a month. The part of it that's harder, that I think most people skip, is like, how do we create those opportunities to have these conversations with the right type of companies, right? We can go and find like Joe Blow's, spray foam or whatever, like, company, but how do we go and say, like, okay, who are the companies that are doing over $1 million? How do I create a relationship with them and maybe build this over a couple months? So I know in my agency, Jeff heard this call, and like, we still do a lot of that where we've been focusing on the low dollar guy where it's one or two guys. And I'm like, Jeff pointed out after that call, he's like, why don't, like, we should just like focus all our attention on these type of relationships. And that's exactly what I'm going to start doing, is like, we're probably start phasing in to have like $1 million a year qualification, because $1 million a year can spend, $5,000 a month, maybe $7,000-8,000 a month on marketing. They have systems in place. The reason they got to $1 million a year is because they're capable of handling a lead when it comes up, following up with it, doing great work. Like, they have systems in place. It solves so much of the problems for us. What does that mean for your budget? What does that mean? Like, if you want to go, like, if you're getting $1,500 a month from a client and you want to go and spend $300 or $400 on a backlink, like, how's that going to work? What kind of profit margin are you going to have left? Well, what happens when you have the ability to spend $300 or $400 on 5 or 6 backlinks during a month, and you can invest in tons of content, right? You have the budget to do things that are going to really move the dial and that are going to be profitable for you. So it's caused like we can kind of get lost in the day-to-day on this. But if you were to like build out your list, if you were to spend the time and go and say, like, hey, here are the top companies that I'm going to prospect, where it's like, maybe what I'm looking for is somebody that clearly has multiple crews. They've set up multiple locations in different parts of the state, right? Or maybe they're a multi-state company. So how many of those would we need if we can get paid $10,000 or $15,000 a month per client, right? What does that look like? How many of those do we need? We need, so if we're getting paid $12,000 a month, we're going to need, like, what is that? 8 of those or 7 of those for us to get to, is that right? 8 of those for us to get to 7-figure agency. right? Those clients are out there and they need our help. And with the skills that anybody that's been tuned in has to manage and control the Google My Business, the SEO pieces, the client management, all these different pieces, there's no reason why we can't land 10 to 12 of these types of clients, right? It does take positioning and it does take investing in the long run. With some of the stuff that we're doing now, where we're going to be, especially for you guys that are rank masters, where we're going to have the store, where you can get a lot of the stuff delivered on the back end. Like then it just like if your entire time, like what Alec and I were just talking about, right? If your entire time is focused on finding and building those relationships and trying to close the big deals, then hey, this is a much quicker path, and these are huge revenue generating activities. It's being in the software world, going to like SaaS Academy and Dan Martell events and thinking about like what our average user pays per month. And then I hear about somebody who's in the enterprise space, like in SaaS Academy, like, oh, so they basically divided up into like enterprise, mid-market, and small. So like enterprise is companies that collect more than $100,000 per average contract per year, right? So then you have like the mid-market, which I think is between like 15 and 100 essentially. And then you have the small business market,
Like that.
right? So a lot of ours are small business, right? So the enterprise companies, when you look at their software, they have a lot longer sales cycle, but inevitably what I've noticed is their revenues seem to grow much faster, simpler, less clients. And it's kind of like got me thinking, like, why can't we apply that on some level to our agencies? Like, who are the big companies? So we got Gary from Buffalo Retrieve Service in here now, Gary Helms, right? We had dinner last week. It's fantastic to hang out with you and your girl. But there's probably some like multi across New York. There's probably some tree company that has set up locations in different spots of New York. So imagine that a company is in San Francisco, LA, and San Diego. There's no tree company that's sending like a crew down to do an estimate from San Francisco to San Diego. They've got crews set up. So when you see that kind of formation, those are those opportunities where we can land these big clients, right? And you guys may not know it, especially like the people that are on this call, just kind of looking across the names. I see Michael Whipple in there hiding in the shadows. You guys have the ability to communicate these. You have the chops. Like if you were to go here and see what some of these companies are paying for and the knowledge that's associated with it, they're so heavily weighted towards like account management versus like SEO skill set and actual tactical stuff. So from a tactical, like the tactical stuff of this company that we're taking over their work that was doing $15,000 a month, like I'm looking at what they've done. Their content is not, it's mostly fluff on their site. There's no author pages. The backlinks were terrible. They didn't have a good review system. The review system that they were pitching for these people to use is like, hey, this is what you do is you buy an iPad and you take that iPad to all these jobs. And then you have the client sign in on the iPad and leave a review from the iPad. And then you sign them out and the next client comes. So all the reviews are coming from the same device. And they were having issues where the reviews weren't sticking. That's like, okay, well, like that's an easy solution, right? So we're setting up QR codes for them. And we're saying like, hey, I want you have all these different crews. Let's gamify this. And let's structure this so that the crew that creates the most positive reviews is the one that wins for the month and they get a bonus, right? And let's incentivize them. And here's the QR code. We give them a script. They walk in, they discount the invoice to substitute for the customer's time, right? This guy was like, this is the pathway. I explained to him the ranking factors and how the reviews are one of the top ranking factors, right? So this is building trust when I'm solving his problems before I'm even his client. And then I go through and I'm evaluating. It's all stuff that you guys have the ability to do. There wasn't any magic there. Like, yeah, I spent time building the relationship, just kind of like the conversation I had with Alec here at the beginning of the call. Like it comes out naturally when it's authentic, right? It's like, hey, what can we do? Like this guy's going through, despite having a multi-million-dollar business, he's kind of in like a tough spot. So just like having the conversation with Alec, I listen. Like, okay, like here, how can we like being empathetic and understanding, and not being empathetic for the purpose of making a sale, just because like, hey, here's a fellow human that's going through a tough time. Maybe this will work out, maybe this won't, but I can build a relationship just by being empathetic towards this, and listening, having this person feel like he was heard. Jeff, I lost my chat. I see people. Okay, there we go.
Got it.
Yes. So that was kind of like a lot of that sales call for me. I'm just getting back into sales after doing it for years. And, I first told Fernanda, like when I first started the agency, I didn't know that I would be good at sales. I didn't know. Like it seems obvious now, like after playing poker for a decade and that being all about people. And I remember making my first sales and like trying to type in the credit card into Stripe and being so nervous. I'm like, holy shit, like this, like this just happened. I sold this guy for $250 a month. And I told Fernanda, like, after I got off the call, I'm like, babe, I just closed someone on our services. And she was like, I'm not surprised. And I'm like, I told her, I think I could be good at sales one day. I think this is something I could be good at. And she was like, obviously I had never sold anything, but she knew, because I was good at creating relationships, that was going to transfer into that. And that relationship stuff is a lot about just being authentic. Like people can smell bullshit. And if you can just actually listen to them and treat, like if you sat down, on a park bench and you're sitting next to someone and you didn't have any motivation and you were just listening and being honest, that mindset right there will take you so far in a sales conversation. And honestly, it doesn't have to be a lot more than that. We had talked about like dropping that sales call into the group, but I think there's too much, maybe, like
Personal information in there.
Personal information in there.
Too vulnerable to, he was sharing too much.
Yeah, there was a lot of sharing. I'd love to see in the chat, or like, we don't have a lot of people on this call, but who in here has had a client or a prospect cry during your sales call?
Well, just for the record, that call lasted what, an hour plus, maybe?
Yeah, probably. I think we closed him about an hour. So we got Alec and Paul both saying that they've had their prospects cry. That's when you know you're going deep with the person, and that's when you know that they feel comfortable with you. Is like when they're okay opening up like this, you've hit the real pain, you've hit the real chord, and there's a level of trust to let yourself get to that level of vulnerability in there. And when you do that, like you've got probably like half the equation right there, where it's like, okay, I like and I trust this person. The next part is like, does this person demonstrate that they have the ability to actually solve my problem? If you do those two things, then like the person is closed. Like I think it would be really hard to not close someone if you can hit both sides of that equation. The good news is, like, anyone that's been tuned into this, it's not hard for us to know more than a contractor about SEO and just kind of like go through and kind of like identify issues. Like, hey, if their current person is doing a fantastic job, then maybe don't try to close them, because it's like, what are you going to provide to them? You're just like stealing from somebody, and you're not really going to be able to help them anymore. So, but when you start to see opportunities, like this guy, I asked him, I'm like, how do you feel about what you're seeing here? And he's like, I feel like I want to scream right now. It's like, hey, whether you realized it yesterday or not, like, this is where we are today. The important thing is to try to make a decision on how we're going to change it. So tomorrow, next week, as we start going to 2024, we're going to be in a better situation, right?
Yeah, that's digging into those pain points. Like they say, dig into the pain points, but that's like showing them. I think we devalue our skill set a lot. It's like we're like masters of local search. Really, anybody on this call is a master of local search, and we think, oh, we have all this competition out there, but the competition, they're not running their companies well. They're not doing fulfillment well, most of them. It's like when we get on a call like we were on the other day, and we see in real time This guy's paying really good money to somebody who's doing a crappy job, you know? So I think, like, you know, all of us have been in this business for a while. We all have these skill sets and traits about us where we can pull people in and get vulnerable and all of that, and show them in real time, you know, what's going wrong and what's going right in any of their SEO, or, you know, any kind of local search. It's like, why aren't we out there selling these types of companies? You know, anybody on this call has the capability to do that.
Well, also there's even I found some of these larger agencies, you guys. There's a very large roofing guy out there, and I'll just say he has a name of a former professional football player. And I came across a client of his that was referred to me that they're charging him a lot of money and not giving him shit. And it makes you wonder how these companies that are large agencies that we all know who they are able to build agencies and not do anything. So exactly what Patrick's talking about. If we can shoot holes in their in what they're supposedly doing, with using the tools that we all have access to, it doesn't matter if it's an Ahrefs or a Search Atlas or whatever the case is. It makes you look like the expert, as well as if you have a solution. So, and if you're genuine, like Patrick's talking about, like actually having a human connection there.
I'll tell you something, Spencer. Let's unpack that a little bit. Let's unpack that a little bit more. So you said that these people are able to build these big agencies without really delivering, right? Has
Correct.
anyone else seen this before? Where, like, what's this Reach Local, right? Reach Local is a huge one. Home Advisor, Angie's List, which I think is now part of Home Advisor. We've seen this time and time again. What do you think that they're good at that allows them to build a big agency? And what are they maybe not good at?
I think they're good at probably selling a dream up front. I feel like they're very good at getting people. Well, I think there's a big disconnect as well, is when you're dealing with contractors. Contractors don't really know what is a good marketing plan, I guess I should say, or what, you know, like I think a lot of times people sell this dream of like, hey, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. They collect money. I've also found that a lot of these companies don't provide any reports. And when they're not providing reports, it allows people to hide. It allows you to say, because like I'll say, you know, when I find out a company has you know, a contractor is working with another marketing company, and oh, okay, great. What are they doing for you guys? Well, I'm not quite sure. Okay. Well, they say they're doing SEO, which a lot of times it's this very vague term that people are able to hide behind is SEO, because a lot of contractors don't know what the hell that even means. So when they hide behind that and then they're not providing any reports, the contractor is kind of lost in this no man's land. Then we come through and we're able to show them where they're lacking. It starts to really magnify things. So from my perspective, it is the sale that gets that person in. And then this person's paying their monthly fee on a hope and a dream. And then nothing ever comes to happen. And so I think it's just that being very good with the sales piece initially.
Good with the sales piece, but sales is really what happens after what?
After the sale.
What like how do they get into the sales conversation?
Prospecting.
Why are they able to have so many sales conversations?
Yeah, prospecting.
So they've got this kind of like 1-2 punch of prospecting and sales dialed in. Do we all agree on that? And that's how they've grown big agencies. But what do we do? Like Alec over here, and I've been guilty of this. I think to some extent we all have. We spend a lot of time building out our processes. They're like, we don't really care about processes so much. We're just going to focus on sales, and we're going to have this like rotating pipeline of people that come in. Like, you guys see that's what's happening with a lot of these big agencies. Like, So if we want a big agency, like the actual better way to do it is to like spend a ton of time focusing on prospecting and on sales, and then use that money to fund building out the best systems, rather than like, we all think we've got to have all the systems in place first, but you look at the biggest companies like Reach Local and these other ones, like, do you think they're doing like running their heat maps and checking this and like tracking reviews and citations and all these different things and like putting in their content and creating topical clusters and making sure that their SEO is dialed in, doing backlink outreach? They're not doing any of that stuff. They maybe publish a blog article and they will sign up for some side of like citation thing at the beginning, and they've got billion-dollar companies. Like, the success leaves clues. If we spent 85% of our time focusing on the prospecting, and then what trails behind that is the sales, and then what trails behind that is the systems, right? But instead we start the other end a lot of times, especially people that come from lead gen, where we've been taught to build this assets first and then deal with the sales. And it kind of like gets twisted, right? Like getting the prospecting in place. There's not a lot of problems that more money in an agency can't solve, right? The whole thing that my speech at our last event was like, hey, solve who, not how problems. There's things that I'm great at and there's things that I'm not great at. I don't like going through and checking boxes and making sure all this stuff is done. I hate that. That's not me. I don't want to police people. I don't want to have to check in like, Alec, did you complete this? Jeff, did you complete this? I hate that. It just drives me batshit crazy. But there's other people who geek out on that stuff. And if I can go and I like, look, the people that we're hiring from like Upwork and online jobs.ph that are applying for the jobs that we post, like, who are these people? Are these the people that are like graduating top of their class? They're going to do anything to go and feed their family, and they just happen to never have a job on Upwork, right? And they're like, oh, let me just pick up this like fantastic employee. We can get lucky sometimes, but if you want to attract the top talent, then like you have to recruit, just like you're going in and trying to prospect and then turn that person into a sale. Like, that's a hunt, right? So if you want to find these talented people and you have the funding to do it, and you like, hey, this is like, let me hire this very high level person in here. And then now our processes are delivered better than we can do it. You know, one of the things when I was going through, so we hired EOS, like EOS is Entrepreneur Operating System. It's what that book Traction is based on. It's an expensive program to do when you don't try to do it yourself. I tried to self-implement it myself for years, and we had kind of varying success. But I was at an agency event and I saw that, like, hey, who are the top agencies in the room? All the top agencies in the room were running EOS. All of them had failed to run it on their own. All of them had hired an implementer, and all of them had pinned a lot of their success towards that decision. And I'm like, why? Like, why am I thinking I'm so different? Like, this clearly worked for all these people. So I hired them, and now I have an implementer in place that's handling a lot of the stuff in my agency, the stuff that I wasn't good at. And I realized in one of those calls, I'm like, you know what? Assuming I was better than this person at this, am I better than them if I give 20% of my time and I hold them accountable for 100% of their time? Clearly, no one is, right? As long as this person is not, doesn't have like mental issues, like, this person's going to be better at this than me. And I made that decision and I put that person in there, and their 100% is, it's made a huge impact on us. I was able to solve a who, not how problem, right? I was able to like get somebody in there that is very well positioned to do the stuff that I hate doing, and they enjoy it. They geek out on that type of like box checking work. So this all, we can't do that unless we have funding. We can't have funding unless we have a pipeline. Well, we can't have funding unless we have sales. We can't have sales unless we have a pipeline, right? So I think there's this like very fundamental mistake that we make. And we think that like, because we do local SEO, we do local marketing, like we're marketing companies. Marketing your agency is that has nothing to do really, in all honesty. That is a completely different type of marketing, right? Unless you're trying to land local clients through your GMB, for your agency, which I personally haven't had a lot of success in getting the right type of client through that funnel, then like that's not how we're going to grow our agency. It's a completely different skill set. It's completely different tactics. When we focus our energy on the stuff that these other companies that have come before us that we've seen have done so well, they're amazing at pipelines, right? Home Advisor, Angie List, Reach Local. We got people all the time coming in there. And this is how they grow these huge ones. What if we took that same energy and we're like pinpoint focused, because if we're niche down and we say, okay, I want to focus on like Spencer said, roofing, right? And I'm just going to identify the top 250 roofing companies in the country. What if you got like 15 of those and they're paying you $10,000 or $15,000 a month? Like, hey, now all of a sudden we've got a multi-7-figure agency with a short client roster, right?
Well,
we've
and
got
the shocker
process.
is there's a lot more companies than 250 that are doing those numbers in any given niche. It's shocking, when you really do the research, you find that literally thousands of prospects.
Well, just like, for example, you guys, I talked about this on the Rank Masters call, but I here about a month ago was on a phone call with two spray foam contractors. One's doing like 4.5 million with no website, no GMB, and the other one doing 16 million with no website, no GMB in the state of Texas. Absolutely floored by those numbers. And those whales are out there. Those are guys that are looking. Like, could you imagine what these guys could do if they actually had some marketing behind it? Like, absolutely unreal freaking numbers, man. I mean, $16 million. I'm like, where are you guys getting your leads? Literally
Word of
told me
mouth.
what's that?
Word of mouth.
Yeah, they literally
Real
stop
classic.
off at like new builder sites, find out who the supervisor is, and make a connection with them, and then they get these foam jobs from new build construction, and they just continually do this when they're driving to job sites or whatever the case is. That's their prospecting method. That's how they've grown.
That's
So
something that whenever I hear something like this, when I used to hear things like that, I would be like, man, that's interesting that they could do it. But now it's like, is there a process to recreate that for them? Like if they were our client and they're doing that, like that's a whole nother like lead source that you could have them, because that's working for them. Spencer, was this company statewide?
No, so both in different parts. I mean, yes, I guess they could go statewide, but the one guy actually, I had a lead that came in through a Facebook ad, that was supposed to be for my agency, but they were looking for spray foam. So if I remember correctly, one guy was like south of Dallas, and he kind of took care of the southern part of Dallas area, and then the other guy was like northern part of Dallas. So he'd referred his buddy and said, "Hey, contact this guy. He'll be able to help with that lead." So I did. And then I got into conversations with both of them, working basically different parts of the Dallas market.
It can be hard when you talk to a client like this or a prospect like this to kind of like gravitate towards the numbers that where it's like, hey, like $2,500 a month, where that number could be $10,000 a month, right? You need to have your services be, in alignment with the value that they're paying, or they're not going to stay your client, especially a company like that. They're going to understand what their ROI is. They've got processes in place. So how do you deliver that? Well, this is where you have this ability to, hire somebody that is fantastic at running Google Ads, setting up a collection of the Google My Businesses. A company of that size maybe has a warehouse and these other locations and stuff, right? So they've got an office. They've got stuff that you can set up multiple Google My Businesses. You have to educate them on how can we automate this review process and then dial in the account management. But companies all over the country are landing clients like this for 5-figure plus a month that are delivering bullshit services that don't move the dial, right? And if you believe and what you can do and what you have done for these other clients, what does it look like when you have a bigger budget behind it to have more of an impact? This money can come back to them 6 or 7 times, right? You have to feel it in your heart and believe it, right? To be able to sell them on it, because they're going to be able to. Most people are going to be able to sniff that bullshit, and you don't want to be that person anyways. But like Spencer, did you give these people a quote?
I did.
How much?
So I think the lowest one was 4,000, and then like probably stepped it up by two each section. So four,
So four,
six,
six,
eight.
eight.
Yeah.
So I think it's good. We talked about this in Rank Masters, right? The having the gap double to push someone towards the middle, right? So if you go from 4 to 6, that's a gap of $2,000. So it should probably be 10 next, 4, 6, 10 from a psychological pricing standpoint. There's a model behind this. Spencer, what does that include for that cost? Like, how are
Yeah.
you going to justify that and make sure that they get a positive ROI from that?
So I'd have to go look back at the proposal, but both these guys needed websites. They both needed GMBs. They both needed a CRM. They both needed some blogs. And it just kind of like the packages were, the way I look at it is just more fuel, or I guess a higher quality fuel that's going into the car. So I don't know if that helps, Patrick, without me looking back exactly at what it was.
Yeah. Have you heard back from them?
Yeah, so one of them was told me, so it was the guy that was doing like 4.5 million after the beginning of the year. He wanted me to reach out to him. The holiday season, people are buying. I just think the holidays make things a lot more busier on top of their workload. So a lot of times people, unless they're looking for that tax write-off, will want to recircle back around. The guy that's doing 16 million, he hasn't responded back yet. As we talked with Chris on the Rank Masters call, I needed to perfect my sales process, and I was just sending over proposals. Today was the first close that we just closed, two new clients off of actually doing a Zoom call proposal. So that was a missing piece. I think if I would have been able to get these guys on a Zoom call, I probably would have closed them a lot easier than just sending it over. So, slowly working on my sales process with the help of our fellow expert, Chris Moore over there, that just joined our call.
Happy to hear that worked, buddy. Happy to hear that worked.
Awesome.
Yes,
So
sir.
I know what we had talked about in this, Spencer, thanks for sharing with that. We can go super deep into that. I know like what we had broadcast this call was going to be a lot about the next event, right? And so I want to get into that a little bit. So this call is really about what we're talking about. This next event is going to be is all going to be themed towards like prospecting, right? This is where I constantly see the same issues with agencies is they don't invest in the prospecting, and then they don't have a predictable way to have new business coming in, and then they don't have new business coming in, and then they have no funding for anything, right? And like, so being that is what I constantly identify with the agencies that we're interacting with as an issue. This entire event is going to be about prospecting, right? It's going to be about like selling, prospecting, and how to get more clients. Because what I'm a big believer in is this is the pathway to more agency revenue, which can solve a lot of our other problems and even create opportunities for us to build out more prospecting methods. So we've seen it from the biggest companies, right? Have done a great job of building in these like sales systems, and they may have nothing behind it, but they've done a great job at that, and they've grown big companies. For me, that's the out of integrity way to do it. The integrity way to do it is to like do the same thing, except invest in the delivery and constantly monitor that, finding the best people that you can to ensure the delivery. What you can't do it on your own, guys. There's so many different things that you have to learn. And unfortunately, no matter how talented we are, we're only going to be good at a portion of those. So our ability to solve these bigger problems is going to ultimately rely on our ability to locate and secure the highest talent. And we can't do that without any agency revenue. So at our next event, we got Chris Moore here in the orange shirt, one of our coaches. Chris, give us a little, can you give us a short bio? I know that the people on this call, but maybe the people watching the recording, I think there's a couple people on this call who may not know exactly who you are and what your background is, but I would love to have you share that with us and just tell us like, what is Chris Moore going to bring to the table at the next event?
For one, I landed a massive speaker for this event who's pretty amazing to come pour into you guys. So that's one thing. But so my background, I think I know everybody whose picture's up right now. See Devin and Alec and Gary and Vadim, Spencer. Yep. So yeah, business growth specialist in general. Owned a marketing agency, sold it in 2021, 2022. Still to this day, all I do is scale companies, and I do it using sales and marketing. So I'm just excited to whoever's going to be there to give you all my best stuff. I'm constantly learning. I'm trying to get my CRO to show up as well. Patrick, just so you know, the guy that's doing all my legwork on all my marketing strategies right now across all of our companies. And he's going to be a huge hitter for us as well. So, but yeah, that's me.
That's fantastic. So Chris, you're also big in the business acquisition area, right?
Yep.
How many companies do you currently have some sort of ownership in?
16.
16. Chris, how many hours a week do you think you spend fishing?
8, 9.
8 or 9 hours fishing.
Yeah.
Seems like, I don't know if you have like a boat background set up in your office with a fish that can just be pulled up, but it seems like more times than not when we're on Zoom calls, Chris is out there on the boat enjoying life. It can be challenging to run this many businesses or have pieces of this many businesses and still have this freedom. And I think that's a big part of what you bring and some of the value that I identify with you. You just moved to this lake house too, right?
Yeah, we've owned it for years, but we just moved
Now
in.
he's showing off. He's showing off
There you
now.
go.
Spencer, I'm putting a hot tub right there for you, buddy.
Oh, nice.
Chris, tell us a little bit about the speaker that you were able to secure for the event.
Eddie Malouf. Yeah. So Eddie Malouf, you can look him up. He owns a company called Bad Marketing, BAD, which I think is hysterical because he's anything but. Eddie's big into acquisitions as well as growing agencies. He coaches people. He hosts some of the biggest agency events in the country with a lot of really big name people. He just spoke at one of my big events in Scottsdale in November, and I called him and asked him if he'd come speak to you guys. So he said yes. Eddie, I've never seen anybody speak like Eddie speaks. It's so different. So I know he's got a lot to offer you all. He speaks on not just how to market and get prospects, but he teaches you how to build the agency in a lot of different ways than anybody else I've ever seen before. And obviously it's very effective. He also buys a lot of agencies. So he usually gives freely with no strings attached, hoping one day someone will come build their agency up and come sell it to him. So just a really good dude. So look him up, Bad Marketing, Eddie Malouf, Malouf, something like that. And his picture was deceiving, Patrick. When I first met him in real life, he's as big as a NFL player. I was like, holy shit, this guy's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that from looking at, I mean, I guess everybody fits inside of a picture and we make assumptions. It was the
I
same
think his
thing.
dude's like 6'4", 280, solid
Yeah.
muscle. Oh, geez. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Do you know how many people he's got a mastermind, right?
I think so.
I thought he had like a
He does big events.
big events.
Yeah. Mhm.
So Eddie Malouf, obviously a pretty sought after speaker. We also
Yeah.
have Amy Ball, who has grown a lot of different businesses. She comes from like corporate world. Maybe some of you guys have seen her. I think we're going to have her on next Wednesday. She's going to do a little session in LeadSnap to kind of like have people get to know her a little bit. Throw in the chat if any of you guys that have interacted with Amy. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. I am really thrilled to have her be a part of this event. It's great to have a super successful female in the agency space that can talk, because a lot of the speakers I think have been very male dominated. She brings a different flavor. She's fantastic at sales. I think Amy was, I can't remember exactly the details of, she was either recruited by the FBI or she had the position, but then she got pregnant and she decided like, hey, this isn't going to work out with like her goals. So very good on the mental side of things. Yeah, that's right, Spencer. Amy Ball. Yeah, she is absolutely a badass, and amazing to have her there. Additionally, we're going to have a speaker who is a specialist on Facebook ads. This guy has a specialty in Facebook ads for agencies, not only for landing agency clients. That's kind of his bread and butter. It's to help agencies land clients. So we're going to be going through doing a setup with him. The idea is that you're going to be able to leave that session with a running Facebook ad that can help you land clients. And we're going to give you some best practices on what to do following up with that. Maybe some of you guys know Terry Samuels. He's going to be in one of our speakers as well. He's going to be coming in and working with the VIPs and the Rank Masters people. So in his session, he is going to be providing, this is actually going to be like SEO stuff. So because this is like a VIP session, we're going to deviate just a little bit from the sales, but this is some on the deliverability, because this is somebody that I think has some amazing value from an SEO perspective to bring. And he's going to be giving you guys some of his templates, stuff that you guys can put into place from a schema. Schema is something that I think doesn't really get the respect and impact that it actually has. Yeah. So Terry, like Spencer saying, Terry is a master. He also runs SEO spring training, which has hundreds and hundreds of agencies. He's been doing it for a long time. Anybody that is in this kind of like high level SEO space, he is somebody that is very well respected, speaks at a lot of these like big SEO events. So it's going to be for the Rank Masters, you're going to have the Wednesday before. So that's going to be Rank Masters only, right? So that's going to be a workshop where we're going to work with you guys to try to work through any issues that you have for that day. Then we have Thursday, which is going to be, so it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Thursday is going to be meet and greet at the mansion. So we've rented out a pretty badass mansion, and let me see if I can just bring this up here. If you guys see my video that I just posted on Facebook, you can kind of see some shots from the last mansion. This place is, I think, next door to that place. It's owned by the same person. That one is themed as Adventure Island. This one is a Hollywood. So every room, 20 bedrooms, every room is themed towards a different movie. There's a lazy river. There's actually a basketball court inside of this house, as well as a bowling alley. So anyone that was at the last event, the venue was fantastic. So Thursday night, we have the bartender. So that's kind of like the meet and greet. Friday and Saturday are going to be like full day sessions. We're going to be catering the food. And then Sunday, we'll have a VIP session in the morning with a pool party in the backyard for the second half of the day. So this will be in Orlando from February 1st through February 4th. For the VIP members, I'm sorry, for the Rank Masters members, that will start on January 31st. So I am super excited for this. If you guys have not been to one of our events, it's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of hard to explain the energy that happens there. It's hard to explain the way people come together and the way that the community feels when you're actually in the middle of it. I know, I don't see her on the call, but Serena was at our last event, and she had one of the most touching stories from this event where she said like she didn't want to come to the event, but her husband kind of like pushed her to get out of her bubble. And as she went to like open the door, when she was coming in, her hand was kind of shaking, and she felt so welcomed, and she felt this like momentum and confidence that was built over the weekend. And she's sitting in the airport on Monday, ready to catch her flight back to Canada. And for the first time in her life, she left this empty table and she went up to and struck up a conversation with, somebody sitting at the bar, because she that's not ever who she was. But this is what we try to instill. We want this to be a momentum shift. It's great to learn tactics and this stuff. It's fantastic to build these relationships that you can take with you, and that can kind of like help you along the way after the event. Those relationships, they become a lot stronger than they can on Zoom when you're actually like breaking bread with somebody, when you're spending the weekend, when you're talking, when you're getting into conversations, when the way the event is structured is facilitated to build the friendships and relationships on a deeper level and create some level of trust and vulnerability. We've got amazing speakers that are coming again this time, right? I'm not big on like, even though we had amazing speakers last time and the time before, each time I think we've kind of leveled up. I want to give you guys a different flavor each time, right? There's parts of the program like myself and Chris and Jeff that are like we're staples of this program. We're part owners of this program, so we're going to be there. And then we try to bring in high level people and that can offer something different each time, a different spice each time. In addition, we have Caleb Oku, who's one of our partners. So Caleb will be presenting at this event as well. He'll be there for the first few days. Any of you guys who don't know Caleb, very, very intelligent, high-level operator, used to work in operations for ExxonMobil when they were the highest revenue company in the world. Just bright mind, tons of experience, built a 7-figure agency that he spends very few hours per week because of his operations ability is so dialed in. So we're going to have him there as well. Chris, Jeff, what am I missing? What else can we add? What else is going to be at this event?
Oh man, great content, great vibes. I mean, if some of you guys were on the call, were at the last one. It just it all comes together so amazingly. It did in Miami too, and it's just the momentum, the energy that builds up, and seeing what other people are doing, dialing into what your vision is. Like I remember Spencer, he's in the hype reel too, and he says he wants to be the go-to spray foam marketer. Well, here he is. You know, he's the guy. He's
They don't call me Spray Foam Spencer for no reason,
right? He's got that genius look about him, but he planted that flag, you know, when he spoke it into existence at the last Mastermind, and here we are 6 months later, and look at all the stuff he's done. You know, it's great.
Yeah, for me, Patrick, it's pretty simple. Events build momentum.
Yeah,
Plain and simple. I mean, going to an event is like a vacation with your friends. Whether they're your friends yet or not, you get so much more downtime, so much more hang time, especially when you're in a mansion environment. Whether you drink or not, the beers were flowing. We had like a pool party every single night. During the day, we were serious, learning, making gains, making connections. You met new people you never knew existed that have been able to add value to your life. I just don't know why anybody, if they have the ability to do it, don't go to more events. I'm lucky that I almost host events for a living. I'm lucky. Okay. I've got 4 in the next 5 weeks: England, Orlando, Las Vegas. And I get so much momentum from every event I go to. And then I have to say, out of every event I hosted in 2023, which was 7 over 250 people, included, that event was my favorite by far. So that's all I have to say about it.
Appreciate that. You were obviously a big part of that, of why it was what it was. I can't remember how many people I heard that have been like, hey, out of all the events, whatever the qualifier is this year, out of all the events I've ever been to, this was my favorite. I just kept hearing it. I kept hearing it, and I heard it in a way, you know, after spending like a decade playing poker for a living, I pay a lot of attention to the way people say things and the level of seriousness that, like, hey, I want to tell you something. Patrick, come over here for a second. Hey, I've been to a lot of events. This is the best event I've ever been to. This was amazing. Like having that conversation where it's like you can just tell by the conviction of how they're saying it. They pull you aside, the warmth in their voice that like, holy shit, like this was something special. And I think like there was a lot of pieces that went into it, but honestly, I think what made it was this the community vibe, this kind of like vibe across the whole thing of openness and welcoming that just, it gets contagious of like, hey, how we're going to be, how we're going to act. And then when you're in like the coolest house you've ever been in, you have awesome food and like music and stuff. Well, that kind of like makes it easier, right? But you know, a lot of the people that are on this call were at that last event, and you know, this call is maybe not for the people that are on this call. It's for the people that are going to listen to this call. I'd love to hear if anyone wants to share. We've got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of media that we're going to be rolling out as we start to push this event. I'm super excited for it. I would love like if anyone wants to kind of share their experience, just like use the hand gesture so we don't have everyone trying to talk at once. I would love to hear about it. Here's why I'm excited about it is, you know, every year I kind of look back on my favorite moments from the previous year. And those events make that highlight reel for me. You know, I look back, you know, we had the event in Miami, and then we had the event in Orlando. I had the ski trip with Monic and, you know, hanging out in Aspen and Breckenridge. It was fantastic going to Spencer's wedding. There was another Alex wedding in San Diego, was amazing. There's moments that I had with my wife, but those events out of the entire year made my highlight reel. And it wasn't because I was the host. It was just like being a part of it, just like feeling that energy for a few days, right? It's great to have this like check-in. I think kind of what happens is we go through our life, things like we get discouraged, things happen. We realize we need to go back up. But when you have an event like this, it kind of like skyrockets, and that will have an immediate impact. And then, you know, the reason we want to have a few of these a year is so that when things start to dip, we can bring it back up, right? And when it dips, we can bring it back up, and we can maintain at a higher level. So, Spencer, what you got, brother?
Yeah, so obviously the events keep getting better and better. For me, I always the last few events always feel like this perfect blend between like mix and a mix of work and play. And also developing relationships. Before the last event, I really didn't know Chris well. Him and I spent a lot of time together. Just like I think what this also allows us to do is become connected as humans, and I really enjoy that piece of it. I've developed some really great friendships. You know, I consider majority of everybody that's on this call as family. I don't know Paul or Michael in person, but everybody else, you guys are family to me. It allows us to just connect as humans, as well as there's a lot of like Patrick talks about, it's not it's what's caught, not taught. So there's a lot of side conversations. Like I got to, you know, sit there and chat with Chris. I got to sit there and chat with Monic. I got to sit there and chat with people just kind of like on the side. The only downfall is we have to wake up early for, you know, the speakers or the sessions where like I don't want it to stop. I don't want to have to go to bed. You know, like I don't want to pay attention to my whoop strap that's telling me you need rest. Like I want to stay up till like 2, 3 in the morning and just keep this party going. So, but I think the perfect piece of it is staying at the mansion if you can be part of that limited amount of rooms, so you don't actually have to leave, as well as just being able to like, okay, work's done. Let's go enjoy some pool time. Hey, let's go enjoy some, you know, the arcade, the laser tag, the you know, don't ever get in the basketball shootout game with Chris. You'll lose, or the bowling. So he's a hustler. Word of advice: nobody get wrapped up into that. He's shaking his head trying to say no, but he holds records. And I saw him beat the pants off of pretty much everybody on that basketball game. But those are the things that I feel like, those type of things, minus the work part of all of it, or the strategy piece, or hey, you can implement this your business. It's the connection piece for me. And like I know we were going to try to have 3 this last year, but we only ended up having 2. I look forward to these things. I look forward to kind of the recharge. I look forward to, yes, it is somewhat of a vacation, a work vacation, as well as I have a lot of people at that last event, because I was, you know, taking all those photos to win that contest. People on social media were like, holy shit, dude, I respect the hell out of you, because you are investing in your career. There, like, if you guys think about this, outside of like what we're doing right now, I know it's a little bit more normalized, and it's extremely normalized in what we do, but if you were a website developer, are you going to like a website development conference often? Probably not. If you were I don't know, a pizza shop owner, are you going to like the pizza shop best conference? No. Like we consistently, like high level people are consistently looking to level up. And I love being around people that have that same mindset, like that want to continue to change and evolve.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Spencer. Thank you for sharing that. You know, I know that I wouldn't be where I am today without going into these, you know, joining masterminds, going into this stuff, and you know, it's been a mixed bag for me. I've been, you know, Chris and I were a part of one together. That's where we met a few years ago, and to be honest, I was not happy at all with the actual content and that was presented. I didn't feel like I got a lot from the actual program, but what I got is a relationship with Chris, right? Last time we went to a conference in San Diego, we had a booth for LeadSnap, and our goal was to try to land new users. And I don't think we did real well from like a user perspective. I don't think that the audience was really dialed in for our product, but I created a relationship with someone who's become one of my closest friends. There's been other ones like being in SaaS Academy. I've got fantastic content from that, from Dan Martell, like actual coaching. And then, you know, I've made relationships. If you're hungry and you're seeking this stuff out, if you are a true entrepreneur, if what you care about is leveling up your game, these are the opportunities that you have to take, right? We can read books and we can go through courses, but if you think about all the people that are in that come to these masterminds, a lot of them are doing those same processes and those same things that you're doing. What is it like when they go out and they have their own experience and there's like, you know, 70 people that are going out kind of like hungry to try to learn and getting this information? You put them all in the same room. Are they going to be able to save you months, if not years of time with like what Spencer said, what's caught, not taught? Like a simple conversation gets opened up and they're like, oh, I tried this or this is what's really working for me. And you never even, your journey was different. You may have gone on your own journey using like an amazing brain and problem solving to come up with your own strategies, but they just happen to do it differently. They're looking at it through a different lens, and they can share a strategy with you that maybe took years for them to build. And now you've got like a whole other tool in your pocket, or, you know, you can not step on the landmine. You know, it's one of the most frustrating parts for me was like when I was coming up, I was trying to learn these strategies and I felt like no one wanted to share. Like I was in these other groups and I felt like people didn't want to share. And I had this dream. I wanted to create this community where people would actually share, where people would actually like tell what's working. And that's what I'm so proud about with this community, because that seems to be like the attitude that's in here. And that attitude is not always present. I'm in other masterminds where it's like, you absolutely have to build this like super tight relationship before anyone's going to release any of their like gold nuggets in there. They just don't want to, like, they don't trust you. You're just like an outsider. That's not the community that we built here. Community that we build is based on sharing and trying to help. And we set that tone right from the beginning. Right. All right. Does anyone have any questions on this? We've been on here for about an hour and 15 minutes. I'd love to answer questions. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be bringing on some of the speakers onto these calls and kind of like sharing a little bit more. We're going to be providing a lot more information. Jeff, I think you have a form ready for us, right?
Yep,
That you can share.
I do.
You drop that in there. So Rank Masters people, like, hey, we're going to talk about this more on the call tomorrow. You've got, you know, as a part of being in the Rank Masters program, you guys have the special, amazing deal. So you guys are going to get the first crack at it, but there's absolutely going to be tickets of the various levels left over. So Jeff, if you could drop that in, and then maybe
Patrick,
also,
do we have a timeline set up yet? I know Shannon was also asking through
a timeline for what?
For the event, like what time is that first VIP session on the Wednesday? Are we able to like what day do we have to be out of the mansion, that type of thing, so that us that are coming from traveling from far away kind of know when to book our flights.
Yeah, so got to be out of the mansion on Monday morning. So that's the leaving. The Wednesday session is not a VIP session. That's a rank master session only. Okay, so the VIP session will be on Thursday. So the rank master session, I think, is going to probably start somewhere around 11 or noon. We're going to have a lot of long days. There's also going to be some like networking time and stuff built into that. So if you're part of the rank masters, then you can fill out that form if you like. We're going to have a separate thing for you guys. But you guys, I don't want you guys to think just because these like people are in rank masters and maybe you're not, that you're less welcome, because some of these people that are in it, they came kind of to the first one as a stranger, right? And then they've been like enveloped inside of our family here. And I want you guys, the point of our community is to make people feel welcome. As a part of the program, there's obviously perks that go towards our coaching students, things that like we're committed towards trying to deliver as much value to them. So I just want to make that clear. I don't want anyone to feel kind of like disillusioned about like, hey, seems like they're playing favorites or something. No, we just got an extra day carved off for our students that are members, and so I just want to make that clear. Jeff has posted this link in here as well, and I will add it. And Jeff, can you add it to the comments inside the Facebook group there for anyone else that's interested? Jeff is the right person to talk to if anyone has questions about this event. But I would say like, Spencer, did I answer your question? So Wednesday,
Yeah, I just
12.
needed to know if I needed to be in Orlando by Wednesday.
Yes,
I really
you do.
just didn't know, and it's difficult flying from the West Coast, so I'll be there on Tuesday.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I see some faces on here that I haven't seen in a little. Vadim, how you doing, buddy? Thumbs up. Devin, it's good to see you, man. Missed that smiling face. Everything going good for you, brother?
Yes, things have been going well.
Cool, man. Cool.
North Carolina still treating you good?
I absolutely love it down here.
Good to hear, bro. A lot better than Oklahoma, huh?
It was like going from a second world country to a first world country.
Oklahoma has now been declared second world.
Don't tell anybody that lives in Oklahoma.
They wouldn't know what to do with that information anyway, so you can say it as loud as you want.
You know that Samantha and Jordan actually lived in Oklahoma for a little while. They moved.
And they got out.
What's that?
And they got out.
They got out. They moved just like you. Vegas to Oklahoma. Very short stay in Oklahoma. They're like, we got to get out of here. Yeah. That's cool. All right, guys. So we're going to have more information coming out, but we're very excited. We're excited, like the ones that are watching this that we haven't had the opportunity to meet in person. That's one of my favorite parts. So I hope you guys have an amazing week. I hope you guys had a fantastic holidays. If you are of the people that celebrate Christmas or other holiday festivities around Christmas, I hope that you enjoyed those holidays and hope you guys have an amazing new year. I think we'll be our next session will be next Wednesday, and it's going to be with I believe we locked in Amy Ball for next Wednesday. So we're going to put out a little bit more information about that during the week, what she's going to be presenting about, as well as some of the other speakers. So I think we will be kind of previewing each of the speakers here before this event starts. So you guys have an amazing week. If you're interested in the event, fill out that form. Someone from our team will reach out to you to get the details dialed in. All right, guys, we'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys. Thank everyone for sharing.